All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to another great episode on your favorite political talk show, The Truth with Ben Jokes. Now, I told us here after Tinubu's first 2 months in office that this propaganda of things will get better after a period of suffering is just the second stage of a calculated sequence that is not based on any reality. From the beginning, they sat down and told themselves that they would begin by making life hard. Then 2 months later, they will make it harder. And after 3 months, they will start saying, don't worry, things will get better. And after 6 months, they will make it extremely harder. Towards 1 year, they will begin saying things are already getting better without any change. And after 1 year, they will make life harder. Towards 2 years, they will say things are now good, things are now great, the economy is now booming, and they will begin declaring some fake and inconsequential achievements. And that is exactly what is happening now. Like, look at the propaganda we saw last night that 50 kg bag of foreign rice had dropped to 53,000 naira. That is a big lie. Nothing like that happened anywhere. Then the $1.6 billion IMF loan repayment out of over $140 billion debt. Is that not propaganda? What is that supposed to change? But the worst propaganda is the one on insecurity, because this one involves human lives. They tried to sell a narrative 4 months ago that Tinubu regime had conquered bandits, kidnappers, and Boko Haram. But the last 60 days have shown that, if anything, security has actually collapsed under Tinubu. Soldiers are dumping the fight against insurgency in large number because of lack of weapons. And it is simply justifiable, because without weapons, a soldier cannot say he is a soldier per se. And few hours ago, one of the most humiliating updates began making the rounds. Boko Haram are no longer shooting at Nigerian soldiers from a distance. The soldiers have become so helpless that Boko Haram is now kidnapping Nigerian soldiers, kidnapping them like civilians. And while at that, a terrible story of repentant terrorists dishing out instructions to Nigeria emerged. Repentant terrorists now want their weapons back. Yes, you heard that. We are repentant terrorists, but we want to still keep our weapons. What a disaster. Before I show you details of these top stories and how Nigerians reacted, let me quickly show you this video. One of the biggest lies the Tinubu regime has told is that all the top 3 candidates, including Peter Obi, promised to remove subsidy the same way Tinubu claimed to have removed it. But that is very untrue. I have clarified it here many times, but let's watch Professor Pat Utomi do some more clarifications on this matter. See the video.
We got here because of 2 policies. Removing subsidy from PMS, removing subsidy from FX in that sense, and now for Band A people, that subsidy is also gone in that sense. What could he have done differently? I mean, as a policy direction, because the argument they also have is to the effect that all the frontliners had made similar promises.
Yeah, which is one of the big lies about that. And I want to give a clear example. You see, petroleum subsidy was a source of big abuse. Now people go back to say, you see, you fought it under Jonathan. When the thing was fought under Jonathan, the point I personally made in 1911 or 12, when the demonstrations were taking place, is it is not about removing subsidy. It is the corruption that is called subsidy. Part of the reason they were doing it around that time is elections were approaching. They wanted the so-called marketing companies to take the advantage of this so-called subsidy thing to fund the PDP. You can play games whatever you like or not. It's the corruption that I've always criticized. Subsidy is 70% corruption. If you really are serious, okay, this government is unfolding all kinds of things in NNPC. Haven't I been shouting about this for forever? I, on this channel, said a couple of months ago that NNPC was the most opaque organization in the world. Now, if we just seriously went and said, first thing, let's deal with the scam in this so-called subsidy, we would have removed 60% of what we call subsidy. Then we say, okay, having removed that, we don't want subsidy. What is left? How can we sequence the implementation that it does not trigger the kind of inflation that it did trigger? Yes, it will cause some inflation, but how can we manage it? So sequencing is a very critical part. Look, I was very involved in policy when we went through the structural adjustment program, and we talked about the J curve and all those lags. This will now kick in. And all that turned out to be a significant lie. It didn't kick in because there were many aspects of the process. And this is the new book I'm writing now, Why Some Nations Are Still Poor. Now, one of the most important things to put into the equation of an adjustment program of that nature is how to create markets. Clayton Christensen, with one of his former Nigerian students, Ojomo, and another of his students, wrote a book, The Prosperity Paradox. We have to focus on how do we create markets and how do we build entrepreneurs. It is those people who then fill in this pipeline. It is nothing automatic at all about, you remove subsidy, this, and then the economy will be good. It's lie. You create entrepreneurship, generate production, and with the production, as the pain is being felt, jobs being created, the exports that are taking place, providing foreign exchange, and you have a more balanced thing, and you grow your way out of that challenge. But not to have a strategy that includes all of this, it's a waste of time.
You heard that. That is exactly how Peter Obi said he was going to approach the subsidy removal issue. Fight the corruption in the subsidy regime that is making Nigeria to pay so much. Obi went to the point of giving us a clear example. He said 10 containers supposedly carrying imported petrol would land in Nigeria, and only 4 out of those 10 containers would actually have petrol in them. The other 6 will be empty, but Nigerian government will go ahead and pay subsidies on all 10 of them. That automatically drives the true subsidy sum up by more than 50%. So, where we should pay, for instance, 100 billion naira as subsidy, we end up paying 250 billion. The federal government knows this, but they get their own share of the scam. That is why they will never end it. And that was the corruption Peter Obi said he was going to fix first, so that we can know as a nation what the true cost of petrol subsidy is. Then, if need be, we can reduce that true cost by maybe 50%. That would have at most taken petrol price to maybe 350 naira per litre, pending the time we get our refineries working, which under Obi cannot exceed 6 months. And crude oil theft at a grand scale would have ended immediately, because no ship can land on our seas to steal crude oil without the president's permission, and Obi will never permit such. Dangote refinery would have, received massive support. They would have been selling crude oil to him in naira constantly and in the volume that he needs to refine and serve Nigerians. Modular refineries and PH Kaduna refineries would have picked up. By now, the price of petrol would have dropped to an amazing level. So the plan all candidates had for subsidy was never the same. Point blank, period. Now, let us look at the top stories. First is that one that completely disgraces the Nigerian military. Boko Haram now kidnapping Nigerian soldiers. What a shame. And next is another shocking update. Repentant terrorists now reading terms and conditions to Nigeria. Conditions that include keeping their weapons. You have repented, but you still want your weapons to be in your possession. Let's start by taking that update on the kidnap of soldiers. Look at how the papers reported it. Boko Haram abducts Nigerian soldiers in Borno, Sahara reporters. Now, let me just hold it here, because it is simply what you have seen. Boko Haram abducts Nigerian soldiers in Borno State. Now, if you know who a soldier is well, you begin to imagine how helpless a soldier would be before Boko Haram will approach his camp, bring him to submission to the point of kidnapping him. I might sound harsh, but what I am seeing here are a group of boys, a group of soldiers that have been abandoned by the nation that they are striving to defend. This is what I'm seeing here. because these boys have gone everywhere. They have gone to TikTok, they have come to Arise, to channels, to speak about this issue of weapons. Some lawmakers from the constituencies under serious attacks have come out to say that weapons are not made available to soldiers, yet nothing has been done. So these soldiers have been abandoned. I don't know what they are still doing there. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to this, that update on repentant terrorists asking to keep their weapons began making the rounds. Look at how the papers reported it. Bandit commanders surrender in Katsina, insist on keeping weapons for self-defense. Sahara reporters. Several commanders of bandits have reportedly surrendered following a peace initiative facilitated by a local group in Katsina State, northwest Nigeria. According to the group, the bandit leaders themselves initiated the dialogue and agreed to cease attacks, although some insisted on retaining their weapons for self-defense. Hamisu Saidu Batsari, the group's leader, confirmed the development to journalists. He identified prominent figures among those who surrendered as Abu Rada Maikada, Umar Black, and Tukur Danajeria, along with their followers. Each of these commanders, especially Abu Rada, is believed to have up to 500 fighters under his command, he said. Batsari added that others, including Tukur, Maikumi, Maikada, and Tukur Danajeria, control between 200 and 300 fighters each. During the peace talks, some of the bandits reportedly insisted on keeping their weapons, citing the need to defend themselves and their livestock. Batsari expressed optimism about the outcome, noting that unlike previous efforts where authorities pursued the bandits and made unmet promises, this time the initiative came from the bandits themselves. As part of the agreement, the bandits pledged to end all violent activities and release all captives, including those from outside the immediate region. In return, the bandits have requested that government ensure equitable treatment between them and local residents, including improved access to basic services such as clean water and education. They also demanded an end to arbitrary arrests and killings by security forces. Batsari said if any among them commits a crime, they want to be tried in court and punished according to the law. These are bandits reading terms and conditions out to Nigeria. And when we say that security has collapsed, somebody will try to say that we're exaggerating. People who should be dead or rotting in jail are coming out to read terms and conditions to Nigeria. And the locals are happy. They are happy about it because the security forces have failed to secure them. The chief said, unlike on several occasions when the military, the authorities have come up with unmet promises, the authorities have failed them several times. That is why they are now embracing this one now that the bandits are offering. They are embracing this offer from the bandits. And this thing is happening all over the Northwest. Before you know it, it will creep into the Southwest. And this is how these people will be taking over gradually. Already in Benue, they have settled well. Settled. Even when the locals try to react sometimes, military will come out and say, no reprisal attacks. And look at how Nigerians reacted. Let's take some of the tweet reactions to this weird update. Edo Wizard here says, how did he then surrender if he keeps all these weapons? Self-defense from himself or the government? That is it. You people are the bandits. You are the ones terrorizing the whole place. You are saying you want to keep your weapons to defend yourself and livestock. To defend yourself from who? Who has time? Who is bloodthirsty if not you and your cohorts? And this tweet here says, even in movies, such can never happen. Nigeria is more than a zoo. I am telling you, I have never seen a movie where terrorists came back to demand that they want to collect the weapons that they submitted when they repented. In fact, I have not even heard the term repentant terrorists, if not in this Nigeria scene. And this tweet here by Casualty says, only in Nigeria, the killer bandits and terrorists give terms and conditions to the goddamn government and it can stands. What a country. That is it. Terrorists give terms and conditions to the government and it stands. You will just think they said this thing for fun. If you can locate that community today as we speak, you will realize that this same thing they said has happened. Even the chiefs, the locals, are happy with the arrangement. And the government has failed totally. And this tweet here by Ibere says, see the joke that Nigeria has become. Meanwhile, the clueless chief of defense staff and chief of army staff are both fixated on restoring Burkina Faso and Niger Republic. They are all over the place, Tinubu and his cabinet, complaining about the fact that a military man took over in Burkina Faso, that a military man took over in Niger Republic. These guys are in total control of their regions now. They have cleared out all the terrorist headsmen that were trying to infiltrate their region and take over. Everything in terms of security is top-notch there now. Meanwhile, they are taking over local governments in your country and they are renaming them. And you are worried about restoring peace in Niger Republic and Burkina Faso. Are you not just a clown? And Ishaku Samaila here says, then why will he be counted as surrendered bandits? He has not yet surrendered. That is it. When you are keeping your weapons, when you still have to keep your own weapons, then there is no surrender there. And you and I know that these guys cannot even surrender. All the ones they've been doing before, even before this development of keeping weapons came, was not genuine. They were just infiltrating the society and infiltrating the Nigerian army. Tomorrow, they will come and tell us that the people attacking Nigeria are not even from Nigeria. The military came out yesterday to say the Fulanis that are killing in Benue and Plateau State and the rest of Nigeria are not Nigerians, that they came from outside. These are the same people that you call repentant, and then you ingratiate them into the Nigerian military, and you say they are not from Nigeria. You see, everything just adds up, sums up to the fact that the APC is not serious. They are not serious, and it is simply because they are complicit. They are the chief sponsors of this insecurity in Nigeria. We can't say it enough. And we have given proof after proof to show that what we are saying is true. And that is why I keep telling Nigerians that this degree of insecurity and this economic collapse that we are seeing in Nigeria today were caused by the APC. And we are never going to fix these problems with the APC in power. That is why Nigerians must come together, cast their sentiments aside to take their country back. But until then, make I still enter town, make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because of una. Now I dey here, so don't go away. Don't go away.